Good afternoon to this session. Welcome, Mr. Niam, CEO, EMA. Welcome to Mr. Abdul Razib bin Dawood, CEO, Energy Commission, Malaysia. And welcome, Mr. Eric Pang, Director of Electrical and Mechanical Service Department, Hong Kong, SAR. In this session, you would see that we are all committed towards reduction of the carbon emission that we have in the ecosystem now, but it's very, very evident that we can't do it alone. And the MOU that we will be discussing among the three governments here will be a sheer example of how Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong have started this journey, and how we all can take cue from this kind of MOU discussion to take this transition faster. So over to you, Mr. Niam.
Good afternoon from Singapore. I'm delighted to be here with Mr. Abdul Razib bin Dawood from the Energy Commission, Malaysia, and Mr. Eric Pang from the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department, the Government of Hong Kong, SAR. To begin, I have two important announcements to make. First, the Energy Market Authority of Singapore and the Energy Commission Malaysia signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Energy Cooperation this morning. Second, after the Energy Insights this afternoon, EMA will also be signing an MOU with the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department of Hong Kong. Now, these MOUs will institutionalize exchanges with our counterparts in Malaysia and Hong Kong and deepen cooperation in energy regulation and capacity building. Given the challenges faced by the energy sector in 2020, this enhanced cooperation in Malaysia and Hong Kong is timely and useful for all parties. COVID-19 has brought about severe disruption to the global economy and long-term challenges for energy systems. We have witnessed shocks to energy demand and supply, a steep decline in upstream investments, and uncertainty over our collective sustainable energy goals. The crisis has forced us to rethink, retool, and reinvent. Energy regulators in Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong have introduced innovative plans to prepare our energy systems and markets for similar disruptions in the future. In Singapore, our policy responses to COVID-19 focus on three key aspects. First, ensuring the operational readiness of our electricity and gas licensees. Second, ensuring the availability of manpower for critical operations. And thirdly, providing targeted financial support to both utilities and consumers. The availability of critical spares and fuel supplies is critical, given that Singapore imports all our fuels. In fact, 95% of our power generation is gas-fired. So global oil and gas supply chains are absolutely critical to Singapore. On the manpower front, business continuity plans were introduced to ensure adequate manpower in the energy sector. And this included special arrangements for skilled officers to carry out inspection and maintenance works. Another key aspect was increased digitalization of monitoring systems for key equipment and grid assets. Finally, the government took pains to safeguard consumer well-being. We provided tax deductions and utility bill offsets to reduce expenses incurred while working from home. Now, to better prepare ourselves for similar disruptions in the future, we'll continue to innovate and strengthen our energy systems. Our priorities lie in system reliability and resiliency. We'll continue to invest in R&D to enhance transmission and distribution planning, maintenance and monitoring, and asset renewal. Digitalization will also be increased through digital twins and online monitoring systems. Last but not least, cybersecurity remains a key priority underpinning the digitalization of critical infrastructure. For more resilient markets, EMA will be implementing a forward capacity market in 2021. Meanwhile, we will continue to pursue our Singapore energy story to advance innovations in renewables, low carbon technologies, and hydrogen and regional power grids. To allow us to better rethink, retool, and reinvent ourselves, international cooperation remains key, and SIEW is one good platform. The Energy Insights series was conceived some years ago to bring together like-minded stakeholders to share their energy perspectives and reports. With our enhanced cooperation in Malaysia and Hong Kong today, I'm delighted to welcome my counterparts, Abdul Razib bin Dawood of the Energy Commission and Eric Pang, Director of Electrical and Mechanical Services Department of Hong Kong, SAR, to share their thoughts of how we can better enhance energy resilience and deepen cooperation going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Niam. If I may ask Mr. Abdul Razib, CEO, Energy Commission Malaysia, to give us his opening remarks.
Thank you again, Mr. Niam, the CEO of EMA, Mr. Eric Pang, Director of Electrical Mechanical Service Department, Hong Kong, and the moderator, Mr. Anurag. I would like to share a story, what happened during the lockdown of COVID-19. When we had this lockdown for a few weeks, the sudden demands dropped. It's about 60%. So as government easing up the lockdown, the demands recovered. As of today, I can share with you the demand have recovered. It's about 93% pre-COVID-19 level. So luckily, I think the recovery has been a V-shaped recovery. So that was happened during the lockdown on the demands of electricity in Peninsular Malaysia. On the supply side, we have excess capacity. So what we did was managing the reserve capacity. And one of the main challenges during the lockdown is we have excess of gas supply. So we were managing the low level of gas supply to power sector. So those on the demands and supply during the COVID-19. Right? On the social side, government of Malaysia generously have given to all electricity consumers a discount. The reason being because they were forced to stay at their home. So it is part of government's caring or social initiative by giving a discount to the consumers, right? And what also we still experiencing of the project delay. We have a few big project, power plants project as well as transmission project. We also experiencing a project delay due to the restriction traveling, especially cross-border traveling. On the operation side, we also facing these challenges of making sure all the staff, operators and maintenance staff to be in the condition of safe to operate across the value chains. So all in all, so the story has been very good. So in terms of securing the supply of electricity to the country, we have not faced any issues of supplies and demands. But what we are hoping that we could recover back the demand prior to the COVID-19. With that, I wanted to start the story on the COVID-19, what we have experienced so far. But in terms of resilience, of course, learning from these pandemics, so we realized that this infrastructure is very important, especially during this the health crisis. So we take cognizance of the lesson learned from these lockdowns and during this health crisis. Whatever we do, the system must be secured and stable. So I would like to stop here before we continue for the next question. I pass back to Mr. Anurag, the moderator here.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul, and thank you for sharing the story. And I'm sure every one of us could relate to that in some point or the other. Now, if I could invite Mr. Eric Pang, Director, Electrical and Mechanical Service Department, Hong Kong SAR, to present your opening remarks, please.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Ngam, Mr. Abdul Najib, Mr. Anurag, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure speaking at this online Singapore International Energy Week 2020. First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Ngam and the Energy Market Authority for convening this renowned annual Energy Summit in the time of COVID-19. I'm also looking forward eagerly to the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding later today with the EMA. The MOU deepens our partnership on sharing of knowledge and experience in energy-related area in shaping a green and sustainable future. I hope that it can also be a stepping stone for us to expand our cooperations with other nearby countries. The COVID-19 pandemic presents myriad of challenges to governments around the world. The Hong Kong government has proactively and swiftly rolled out a series of emergency measures for the prevention and control of the virus. Since the beginning of this year, the government has launched 3 rounds of anti-epidemic fund, totaling $36 billion to assist the industry and the public affected by the epidemic and help enhance Hong Kong's anti-epidemic capabilities. Despite the fact that the full impact of the ongoing COVID-19 has yet to know, the epidemic not only threatens the life and safety of the citizens, but also has a significant impact on our economic development. Among the measures for the society to tide over the economic winter, the government has launched the Green Employment Scheme to create jobs in the realms of environmental protections. The scheme aimed at employing fresh graduates to work in areas related to environmental protection, ecological conservation, green energy and energy conservation, climate change and sustainable development. It provides job opportunity for graduates interested in environment-related fields to enter the industry under current difficult times, and to nurture and prepare talents to meet the needs on various environmental fronts and building an energy resilient society in the post-COVID-19 epidemic. And our departments, the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department, has also created more than 1,200 jobs to assist in digitalization of government E&M assets. Our ultimate purpose is to migrate to an intelligent operation using artificial intelligence, not only for predictive maintenance, but also for energy-saving operations. And in doing so, driving the trade and the private sectors towards the application of such technology for green operation. The World Health Organization has advised that the world has a long way to go in tackling the COVID-19 epidemic, and the virus may coexist with the mankind for a long time. Social distancing during the pandemic has brought about new norms, such as working from home, e-commerce, e-learning, and e-shopping for us to coexist with the virus for some time. The new norms have created great opportunity for the innovation and technology sectors, such as this online SIEW 2020. The promotion of I&T is the key priority in Hong Kong government's long-term economic development strategy. In particular, the government will roll out a $25 million US Green Tech Fund by the end of this year, which is the latest funding specifically targeted at I&T on green tech for stimulating innovation and promoting the research and development and application of green technology, and for facilitating the community in advancing decarbonization and enhancing environmental protection. The priority themes of the fund include decarbonization, energy saving, green transport, and waste-to-energy technologies. The COVID-19 outbreak has immediately caused a tragic number of deaths, forcing people to adopt a new norm, resulting in economic hardship, and the impacts are rippling across the world. The whole mankind is eagerly awaiting the vaccines to come. Wow, the same descriptions are also applicable to another global crisis, the climate change. While it is not as immediate as COVID-19, its impact will be even worse, and there is no vaccine to cure it. We must therefore rely on the age-old adage, prevention is better than cure in dealing with the climate change. The Paris Agreement is the international collaboration for curing the climate change pandemic. The agreement aims at, amongst others, strengthening the ability of countries to deal with the impacts of climate change through appropriate financial flows, a new technology framework, and an enhanced capacity building framework. With our vigorous efforts in promoting energy efficiency and conservation, Hong Kong's energy demand per GDP has reduced by about 32% from 2005 to 2018. Being an active member in the APEC, we are committed to become a low-carbon city and look forward to collaborating with many more members to build a sustainable future. Leaving no one behind is one of the major concerns reflected in the 2030 agendas for sustainable development. Combating COVID-19 and climate change require joint ventures, such as the travel bubbles between Singapore and Hong Kong has showcased. To restart our economy post-COVID-19 and to combat climate change, we need international cooperation, innovation and technology to create a safe, healthy, clean, green, and more resilient, low-carbon future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eric Pang, for the wonderful remarks. And it's really great to see that job creation, skills upgrading, and being for future ready is very, very crucial and one of the key objectives of this MOU. So thank you for that. Perhaps if I can just bring you guys to our next session on the panel. Maybe I could start with you, Mr. Abdul. What are we heard about some of the challenges that you faced and some of the challenges that the local community was facing. What would you say are your key priorities going forward if you were to reflect on this MOU, maybe in the next 100 days?
I think this morning we have signed MOU with EMA, with Energy Commission of Malaysia. As maybe some of you already aware, our power system network already been connected since 1983, and we also have a gas pipeline connected between Malaysia and Singapore. So we've been connected all this while. So we've been cooperating with each other for all this while. So what the significance of this MOU, we are enhancing our collaborations and our cooperation between two authorities or regulatory bodies. So immediately within this 100 days, we're going to arrange working visits. If travel permits, we will visit our colleague in Singapore in MA. We can start planning some exchange knowledge or exchange information. And as you already aware, EMA made an announcement last week. So they are looking at importing hundreds megawatts for a trial period within the next year or two. So one of the agenda we want to discuss is regarding that energy export from Malaysia, or you can say energy imports to Singapore. And there are other things that we are, particular Malaysia, interested to share. Not only electricity, we also want to share our natural gas industry together with EMA. As you also aware, we also have some plan toward future deregulations or market liberalizations in Malaysia. As you well aware that Singapore is well in advance in terms of industry, markets, economy. And there are other things that we could share with Singapore. We have a lot of experience in big solar farms, projects and operations. And we also have a good data and experience in decentralized generations in our system. Perhaps we could share with our colleague in the EMA. And there are other things that we look forward to learn from Singapore in terms of digitalization. So I have spoken all these 3 Ds in, and the other Ds is the decarbonization. We have a target to achieve by 2025 of 20% of renewable energy in our capacity mix. We have many programs like feed-in tariff, large-scale solar, net energy metering, self-consumption, renewable energy, embedded renewable energy, and so on, so forth. We're very confident that we can achieve those targets within this 4 years' time. Okay. And also, not to forget this, Singapore and Malaysia are part of the 10 ASEAN countries. Malaysia, Thailand, and Laos have started this Laos, Thailand, Malaysia multilateral energy trading 3 years ago. We are really looking forward to get Singapore on board in this multilateral power trading within ASEAN. So there are a lot of things that we can discuss and share our experience and vice versa with EMA. So I really looking forward to meet Mr. Ngiam and his colleague when time and also travel permit us to visit them in Singapore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul, and I'm sure we are all eagerly waiting for the travel to come back to normal, so we can have the usual business interaction and the deals that can be easily talked about and signed across the table. So I completely understand where you're coming from, and it's great to see Malaysia having some. I would say a clear roadmap towards achieving the objectives set out in this MOU. So thank you for that. Over to you, Mr. Pang. Perhaps the same question. In your next 100 days, what would be your key priorities which you will undertake based on the MOU that is now being signed between Singapore and Hong Kong?
Well, we are very glad to have the memorandums of understanding in place so that we can have a establish ways to exchange with our working partners. We target on the same things in both Hong Kong and in Singapore. I think the first things that we would like to share is about the ways to decarbonize our communities. That is a very important agenda. According to the Paris Agreement, we have to do a lot, and it is very challenging indeed. Let me share with you our ways to decarbonize Hong Kong. We set the target and we set the timeline for it. And then we have some regulatory measures. We have the laws in place, for example, about building energy efficiency, and then about the energy labels and some things like this in place. We also motivate the trades by being the role models in a lot of areas, such as in solar energy. We roll out the solar harvest scheme and also the Green School 2.0 scheme to sponsors the schools to adopt the solar lightings, and also to adopt energy efficiency measures such as LED lightings, the measurements, the real-time measurements of the electricity consumption, etc. We also have funding in place to encourage the government department to adopt renewable energy, solar lightings, and also wind energy, and also waste to energy, etc. We have, for the private sectors, we have schemes to incentivize them, such as we have the fee scheme, which give a very generous payment of about 5 Hong Kong dollars for each kilowatt hour of electricity generated by solar lightings. We have the green building certification. We have the I&T fund in place. We have the green tech fund in place that just mentioned. We have the tax deduction, etc. We also have the publicities programs to educate and energize the communities towards decarbonization. And for the infrastructure, we work with the power company so that they will switch to the LNG for electricity generations. And the government department also installed the district cooling systems for the Kai Tak area, for the Dong Chung area, for the Hong Shui Kiu area, the Kutong North area, etc. Many of them are in the pipeline. These are some of the major decarbonization measures that is being adopted in Hong Kong. And when we hope that through this memorandum of understanding, we could share our experience and learn, that is both important, learn more from the Singapore counterparts. I think because the Singapore and Hong Kong are really similar in the geographical layout, in our population, in our economy, etc., we can have a lot to learn. And two key aspects to learn is, the first one is about the expertise. For example, how to train up our staff and train up our colleagues and the trades to decarbonize our society. The second thing is to change the technical know-how, the I&T results, and our R&D research and development results, and that are the areas that we will look for. This is what we hope could learn more from our international collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pang, and it's great to get to see a clear strategy ahead amidst this great pandemic that we face. So thank you again for your insights, and we all believe that we should all learn from each other so we don't repeat the same mistakes. So thank you for that, Mr. Abdul. If I was to reflect upon some of the challenges and the priorities that you mentioned, what role does the international cooperation play in creating, creating a low carbon future between Singapore and Malaysia? How does the international community and cooperation impact, or is it something really atypical of Asia?
Okay, thank you for the question.
Yeah.
We are a party to COP21. We are one of the signatories of a Paris Agreement. If you look at the detail, 45% emission and intensity reduction from the base of 2005 to be achieved by 2030. there are terms that are conditional, unconditional. There are terms that's conditional upon. If I'm not mistaken, 30% is unconditional, and 50% is conditional upon some kind of assistance from international community in terms of technology, transfer, financing, and I can't remember the other one, but we really hope that 50% that are conditional upon those elements, we hope to receive some kind of assistance from the international community. I'll give you one example. Under Green Climate Fund, GCF, we have partnered with Carbon Trust organization from London. So we have received those assistance, but we also would like to, receive some kind of assistance in terms of capacity building, especially technology, innovation, etc., etc. Yeah. So those are the area that perhaps international community can help Malaysia to achieve the target of COP21 by 2030. It's not only financial assistance, but the capacity building, the technology transfer, and those innovation from most advanced country. I'll give you an example. We're really interested to embark on this battery energy storage system. So we plan to launch some kind of a trial or pilot project on battery energy storage system in our network, in our power system network. So we would like to receive, or we welcome any assistance from international community in terms of how we specify, how we commercialize those initiatives, battery energy storage system. Yeah. So there are other things. We are facing challenges on, decentralization. You're looking at embedded, small embedded generation in our distribution network. So those are the areas that we, because of this renewable energy comes within these ambits of embedded generation, there are technical challenges of maintaining stable and secure system. So we look forward for any technical international assistance in terms of managing those issues such as intermittency and variability of the embedded generation. I think that's all I can say for now. But Alice,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul, and I'm sure Mr. Niam was taking his notes in all the different help that you have put up for. So over to you, Mr. Niam. We looked in your presentation that 95% of Singapore's power generation is gas-fired. Now, is there any plan for Singapore to expand or work on its energy mix based on the MOU?
Thank you, Anuraj, for the question. Well, it's true that 95% of our fuel mix is based on natural gas. And we put in quite a fair bit of effort in terms of improving energy security on that front. So in terms of diversifying sources, in terms of bringing in more LNG importers, that's what we're trying to do. But at the same time, we're moving on to more solar as well. So we achieved our solar target of 350 megawatt peak in 2020. And we have a target of 2 gigawatt peak, at least 2 gigawatt peak by 2030. So that's quite a fair bit of solar that we plan to bring into the system. And that's one of those areas which we should plan to learn a lot more from Malaysia on, from the large-scale solar programs, which many times bigger than our solar programs. but really how we integrate renewables into our grids, ensuring reliability and stability of the systems, even as we do that. I also look forward to learning a lot more from Hong Kong as well, in terms of the solar programs that you have and how you've managed to integrate the large amounts of solar from, all your different types of solar harvest programs and schemes, and to bring that into the system without affecting reliability. On Singapore's front, as Mr. Razib mentioned as well, we are also looking at more imports from regional power grids. And given the close connections and interactions that we have with Malaysia, really our closest neighbor, with existing interconnections for both electricity and gas as well, it's absolutely natural that we'll work with our good friends up in Malaysia on that front. And again, that's one thing that we hope would further diversify our energy sources in Singapore. Something that we hope to learn from Malaysia as well, because Malaysia has been trading electricity with Thailand as well, and with Laos as well. And so that's something that we hope to further develop with Malaysia under our MOU in terms of our collaborations. I think besides the fuel sources that we're talking about, we are also looking at really reducing energy consumption. And to that end, we hope to learn more from Hong Kong, particularly on all its initiatives in terms of improving energy efficiency. I heard from Mr. Pang as well on how it's improved infrastructure with district cooling systems. That's something that we are certainly very keen to learn from Hong Kong on, and how we can further strengthen our market mechanisms to enable companies, the private sector, and the public sector to become more energy efficient going forward. Likewise, for the development of manpower and expertise, I think I look forward to working with both Malaysia and Hong Kong on this front. Really how we train our workers, particularly the skilled workers that are required for the power and energy sector, and how can we prepare them for the future, for new technologies such as solar, hydrogen, carbon capture, that will become a part of our energy systems going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ngiam, and thank you, distinguished speakers, for shedding your views and remarks and clearly defining the way forward and marking this as a clear milestone for the other APEC members to follow suit. So thank you again for your time, and look forward to a discussion further in the Energy Insights. Thank you so much.